takes a lot of time to do that amazing thing, but it's also enjoying the journey of it. And the other thing that really sticks out to me is like learning to measure success by the impact in the world, not just bank accounts. And I feel pretty strongly about that, as people probably know. H.L. Mencken talks about every complex problem, like traffic or homelessness or malnutrition. There's an answer that's clear, simple, and wrong, right? Often people think we can have this silver bullet, and there's not a silver bullet. Like we said before, if there was a silver bullet, everyone would have funded it and jumped on it and claimed to solve the problem that they really care about. One thing for you, Brian, this is pretty informal session, so at any time, like you want to stop me and say, "Oh, I have a question about this," feel free to do that, or thoughts as well. So why prototype? Because we often talk about like prototyping in UX design and things like that, but why specifically in complex problems? The first reason is that it helps you understand and engage with the system, right? Because this is like an active system, almost like, a city that you can't just like study from outside, but if you really want to understand it, you have to engage with it. It's like science. You can't just like stand back and observe. You have to take experiments to actually understand what's happening with the science. The second really important reason is actually experimenting and showing people and talking to people about what it is that you're really passionate about, and prototyping and testing ideas with them actually helps you build relationships with people in that community. So it's not just, oh, we need to run experiments for the sake of experiment. It's actually, if you want to create change, experiments are a really good way of getting people to buy into the change that you're trying to create and understand from their perspective what it is that they would like to achieve and learn from that. And I think that the third story is actually being able to create a vision for what is the change that you want to see in that community and rallying the community around that vision. And we'll talk about some examples of that. So here's a question for you. Where are you on your journey of tackling complex problems, and what brings you like to our community today? What made you feel like it's time to jump in?
For me, it's just I've always had I came from a background of just community service, and I feel that's where mostly I'm alive, and when I'm connecting with people and through proving a situation. I don't have any particular problems right now that I'm looking to solve, but it's how I connect, I think. And I'm looking for a sense of community and belonging. And
I really connect with what you're saying, Brian, in terms of like, I'm really alive when I do this thing. It's like when I'm connecting with people, that's when I feel most alive. And it's like almost having that shared vision and that shared goal, right? Like everyone here is in this room to solve this problem, or because they're passionate about some part of this problem, which is really awesome, right? It's almost like a euphoria in terms of when I think about like my studying days, when you solve that like math problem and you get that like really cool feeling. But it's like having that, but like for the 8 hours that you're in the room with people. By the way, we're going to have some soon. Sashina's coming, I think it looks like. So learning outcomes for this course. So the first thing I want to say about this course is that this course is really about creating and making, right, as a way to learn. It's not just about like thinking abstractly and putting down post-it notes. It's actually about what's the thing that you can create to test your idea, right? It's not thinking about like ideas in the abstract. It's about saying, I have a new idea for the coffee cup. So I want to test out this idea, right? And you want to actually create another coffee cup that's based on your idea and test that with the community. Hey, Sachin.
Hello.
Can you hear us? We can't hear you. Your mic is unmuted though. We'll keep going until you're ready to chat. So as I was saying before to Brian, the thing about this course is that it's a make it course. It's a create your idea course. It's not just thinking about the system in an abstract way, or it's not just thinking about your idea in an abstract way. It's about let's create this thing. Oh yeah, now I should talk now, Sachin.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can hear you. How are you?
I think there was a lag in the Bluetooth connecting.
That's all right. Sachin, meet Brian, meet Sachin.
Hey, Brian.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, good.
Nice to meet you. Yeah,
We might
Nice to
pause
meet
here
you.
and just do introductions if you guys want.
sure.
Yeah, I'll
Mm.
sure. You want to go first, Brian? I'm Chatzi. I am many things, but professionally, I'm a product manager of physical devices and services. And I found this course a while ago, and I've been on and off. I enjoy participating and learning and being in the in since this is not something which I've learned as an academic pursuit. I've always been fascinated by design, and I like these workshops because they're not just teaching you concepts; it's also engaging with practice, and this makes me more kinesthetic learner. So I really love this. There's certain things that you can, for me, comprehending things by the book is good, but I actually absorb them so much more better when I'm involved in the activity. Webinars and everything is great, lectures, but being involved is just that's what works for me.
Nice. Yeah, I can resonate with your last comment of being a kinesthetic learner. And yeah, I'm definitely more of an experiential sort of person. That's where the excitement comes from. I agree with
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Connecting with people and just the energy that grows from that is awesome. Myself, I'm in a career transition. I came from a background in architectural design. So I practiced for a few years. I've done also, I think before that, did some international development. I was in the Peace Corps, and one of my stints doing architecture, I was in the AmeriCorps, so disaster relief, housing sort of stuff. So I've always had somewhat of a kind of community service mindedness about me. And after the housing bubble burst here, because I was doing residential, my last job, residential architectural design, green design, everything pretty fun stuff. Housing bubble burst, and I decided, do I want to deal with social things a little bit more? Move away from the physical built environment and deal with people, the spaces between buildings, and understanding some of the more social things. And I ended up in anthropology, social cultural anthropology, finishing up a master's in that. Some of what I was looking at is the interactions between communities and natural resource management.
yeah,
And so communities and government agencies and how they kind of conflict because their strategies not understanding each other. So I
yeah.
did a little research on that. And now I'm trying to figure out my place. I want to bridge my design background with what I've learned now, the social sciences, and do maybe UX research, something like that, or just find myself applying some design thinking to social problems. But yeah.
Which, if you don't mind me asking, where did you apply the skill set where you said you work with the governments and the communities and mapping out the interaction? That sounds really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I can give you a brief overview. So this was actually, I came on board, and that was part of the interest in finishing the program here. Was my advisor was doing some research, my academic advisor, into just understanding how communities, mining communities specifically for metals and precious ores, how they were making the transition after mine closures, and how were they surviving? How are they dealing with that? And one of the issues that happens in some cases is like there's environmental remediation that has to happen. So there's the Environmental Protection Agency comes in, and there's what's called the Superfund process, which is a mandatory process to clean up the acid deposition that's a result of the leaching mines. And so you have interesting things happen where in one case there was a historical account that happened in the 80s, late 80s, where the mines closed down, laid off like 3,000 people, which is the majority of this one town. And then a year later, the EPA came in and demanded cleanup. And then that tarnishes their image when they want to move towards tourism, because they want to market their heritage and they want to have pride for it. So there's this dance of like threatening the integrity and identity of a community. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting social things that occur out of that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of I looked at.
That's interesting. I think now I remember, because I replied to your introduction, and when I read your profile, I was very impressed with what you described, and it was so coincidental. As I was reading that, I was talking to my nephew, who's in his junior high school. It was a junior in high school, and I was talking to him what he wants to do next, and he was just for having a casual talk, and he said, yeah, he likes so. Tell me more about what you like. Tell me more. And digging through, I was like, so it looks like you're more interested in the social impacts of different historical dynasties and cultures versus the history. So yeah, so you're more about the justice aspect. So yeah. I was like, huh. Have you heard of social anthropology? And I knew that because I just read your profile. And then the next day he read it and he was like, oh, this sounds like something really interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting things that anthropologists study and tackle as far as just understanding communities and how they understand the world, their environment, and make sense of it, and the various forces that affect communities as far as drivers of change, like economic, political, and environmental, and just what comes about. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and the common themes that I associate with all those and extract from, because you don't have a 8 ball, but you can look at historical themes and extract some I wouldn't say formulae, but some learnings out of them, which you can use, like, oh, this probably will happen because it happened in ABC, which was similar, but not exactly the same, but there's a highlight. Yeah, we're so short-sighted, we forget about it, but very impressed with what you have written down over there, and I already used it, and someone loved it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
This is awesome. I've just been enjoying listening to the both of you connect. And it's like a microcosm of what our community is about. It's like people with shared interests who care about their impact on the world, connecting and understanding and learning more from each other, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me observe. All right. Happy. So we've been talking about the new course, Prototyping to Learn.
Yeah.
Up to learning outcomes, but I'll send you the slide deck anyway, so you can catch up in your own time. But if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, this is going to be pretty casual like usual. So yeah, feel free to
share. So
go.
I've dealt with prototypes in the physical world, and in the virtual world, generally what I've dealt with prototypes is basically wireframing and paper cutouts and stuff. In this concept, how would it be similar and how would it be different than a wireframe or a physical? Like, I'm used to SLAs and wireframes. Like, okay, this is how it's going to be. What do you think? And or this is how it's going to look like. So when it comes to, I'm guessing it's about systems. How would prototypes be similar or be different in this context?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so. Similarity wise, I think it's similar in terms of like you're creating something tangible. Hopefully, this is the aim of this course. You're creating something tangible to talk to someone about it and test and get their ideas. So that's where it's similar. Where it's different is not most complex problems don't have a digital solution. I think we're like Brian and I were talking about before, like falling in love with the problem, not falling in love with a solution like technology. Because falling in love with a solution like technology, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can use technology to solve homelessness and I can use it to solve malnutrition. I can solve, and it's like, no, dude, you need to focus on relationships first. So that's where it's going to be really different. it depending on the idea that you and your team pick, it's going to be, it could be, I imagine like we might have one idea that's technology based, but I think most ideas shouldn't necessarily be technology based. They're actually going to be like, how can we create this new service or create this new thing, product, as opposed to a digital thing. Does that make sense? So it might be a bit, I think it will be a bit challenging for people, which I think is important, because, you know, wireframing and stuff is like really popular, but it's every problem has a
No, I totally get it, but that's funny when you mentioned the whole aspect about going away from technology. My mentor asked me to help this kid who's got a startup from the local university for new parents. And he wanted to understand how to manage their inventory, and he was thinking scanning and everything. And I walked her through something which I'd seen been implemented in factory shop floors, which is a visual system of inventory management.
Yeah.
With a vendor outsourced forecasting method. So it was semi-digital, but the bulk of the thing was no digital, because make it visual, focus your digital competency on your marketing of awareness versus on trying to fill spreadsheets and databases. And yes, it would be a solution, but at what cost?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something common that I think we find when we're doing, like when we're you know, working with communities. It's like technology actually sometimes, or a lot of times, technology gets in the way of creating it as like a serious and empathetic relationship with the community. You know, when we do interviews, we don't use screens, because you're really focused on the person and what their experience is and building that relationship with them. So introducing a screen almost like puts in a barrier, almost puts in like a third person that they need to get comfortable with. Whereas people are just...
By screen, you mean this screen?
Yeah. Yeah. So when we're doing interviews in person, we won't have I won't be taking notes on my laptop, right? I'll just be writing.
Got it. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah. A notebook. A notebook is at most a recorder, right?
Yeah, you might have a recorder, but even then it'll be tiny and you put it on the side, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning, but it's not there to take space in the room. It's there as a facilitator.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you want to focus on the conversation so it flows seamlessly, because anything is a distraction and takes away from your line of thinking and from their thought process. It may just make them conscious.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like when you're typing every word someone says, it's very different than sitting and just taking a step back and just taking notes, right? They know you're not typing every word that you're saying because you can't write fast enough. Yeah, so it's more about how can we, and we're talking about before the slide, we're talking about how one of the benefits of prototyping is to build that relationship with the community, to get their input on what it is that they think might be valuable or might not be valuable. And that's difficult, right? Because sometimes you'll think you'll have a great idea about this new thing that you can introduce to the community, and you go to the community and it's clearly not acceptable. And it's a bit, gut-wrenching, to be honest. But the thing is that you don't fall in love with the solution. The solution for that is you don't fall in love with the solution, you fall in love with the problem, right? Because if you fall in love with the problem, then you go to the community and your idea gets rejected. It's great. Now I know this idea won't work. Okay, cool. Good question. So Sachin, you're aware of this. What's included in the courses, like the 4 weekly sessions, the team project, the coaching sessions? It's going to be with me this time. And then the peer coaching sessions, so meeting with other teams and talking about how you're progressing through the course, etc. Charlie's not the director of the Center of Public Impact. That's there by mistake. But Charlie has been one of my mentors for the last 5 years, and I'm like absolutely ecstatic that this guy was willing to come for us. He's worked like in Europe and in Africa, basically looking at social behavior changes, service design. He's really passionate about healthcare problems in specific, but he's worked all across. I'm really excited for everyone to get to meet him.
Nice.
Okay, so course outline, we're going to be doing it in 4 weeks. We've already got quite a few people signed up. People already from like Nigeria and South Africa and Germany and Europe and the US. The first week, which is next week, is just going to be an introduction to prototyping. Why prototyping? What's prototyping like? What's the process? The second week is going to be Charlie talking about how can you design your prototype, right? How can you understand which idea might be helpful to prototype, and what are the different ways that you would do to go about prototyping your idea. And then the third week is going to be actually like how can you take your prototype to a community and test that with them. And then the fourth one, which I'm really excited about, is talking about reflecting on the impact of your prototype. And I think it's important to think of impact broadly, not just in terms of did this prototype directly affect the problem, but it's who did this prototype inspire in that community to tackle that problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you might, because you might not necessarily have a direct impact, right? Especially if you're running the prototype for say a week, you're not going to make a big dent in this problem, probably not. But it's who did you inspire in that community? What relationships did you build with that community, right? Then you can go back and say, okay, I want to test another prototype with you now, and thinking about impact more broadly than just like direct results or KPIs. Questions? No? Okay. And this is I really like this quote. Don't underestimate the ripple effect of what you do. And in systems thinking, we talk about like the butterfly effect, right? Of doing something so small in Africa and how it ripples all across the world. And that's like the idea with prototyping as well. And understanding the impact of your prototype is it's not just about what's happening with the person that you spoke to. It's like, who did that person actually tell about this thing, this conversation that they were having with Brian, and what impact did that have on their life or their career trajectory, or whether they're suddenly passionate about solving this problem, or what relationships did you build, or what tangible outcomes did you achieve through this? Because you might if you focus on climate change, you might have reduced emissions by a certain number, right? Yeah, but understanding ripple effects is going to be really important. So that's probably it about the course. Now I wanted to make space for you guys to ask any questions that you have about the course. Brian, for you, Sachin knows this, but Brian, you don't. Basically, what we do is we want to, one of our like design principles almost for the community is to reduce the barriers for people to make a difference. And that we run scholarships and things like that because financial barriers are like the first thing that goes to. But at the same time, we reduce like the time commitment barriers for people. So it's not that people need to sign up to the course to benefit. It's some people choose to not sign up to the course, but just come to every session to learn. Whereas some people choose, I can spare the 4 hours every week or the 2 to 4 hours every week of working through my team and having the coaching sessions and so on and so forth. So they sign up to the course. And
gotcha.
If that makes sense. So you can come to individual sessions, which is why we run it every week, because some people attend the next session and don't come for 10 weeks and then come again. And other people like Sachin, he's been coming, say, for the last 2 months. So yeah, it really depends on, we're trying to reduce people's like time commitment and financial commitment. That's why we run things like scholarships and things like that. So any questions about the course or anything I spoke about?
Nope. I think I got it. I just signed up for this one session, but yeah, I think I saw the link for the course.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll post the link of the course in the chat. Sachin, did you have?
Yeah. Are there any recommended readings for it that you would say?
Yeah, that's good. Look, I'm creating recommended readings like as part of the course, but I'm happy to send that to you guys to check out.
Or just I actually had this book. It was a John Riley book. It was on process mapping, and I had it for a year and I didn't realize it till after return. And I was like, I had it with me for. So, anyways, basically, if there's something that I can read with it, because when I'm in the course, I feel there's a higher tendency that I'll actually get it done versus when I'm not through the reading.
Yeah, absolutely. I can. Yeah, I'll send you the reading list that I'm compiling, and Brian, I will send you that list that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, sounds good. Cool. Any other questions about the course? Cool. Awesome. So today it was a short one. Next week we'll be back to the 90-minute sessions where a lot more people come. If you have any questions, just send them my way. I posted the link if you want to sign up to the course. Just sign up and let me know, or I'll find out if you sign up to the course. I'll get a notification. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Brian. Welcome to our community. Next week,
Thank you.
hopefully get to meet a lot more people, and yeah, a lot more people. But I think Sachin gave like an awesome microcosm of what our community is about. So hopefully you got a taste.
Nice. Good to meet you. Yeah.
Same here, Brian. Thank you.
Have a great week, and sing out on Slack if you need anything. Happy to chat.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
See you later.
All right.